Let's be real, online dating is a high-stakes game. You've got, a few pictures and maybe 100 words to convince someone you're worth their time? Every single sentence you write on that profile is a signal, a little clue about who you are. And we all, we try to send the right ones.
But what happens when one of those signals is, well, a pretty controversial belief? What if you decide to put your conviction in a conspiracy theory right there in your bio? Is that an instant deal breaker? Or is it a bold declaration that might actually attract the exact kind of person you're looking for? And just look at how powerfully one sentence can shift the entire vibe of a profile. On the left, you've got a perfectly normal, friendly bio. Totally standard. On the right, the exact same profile, but with that one little addition. And suddenly, it's not just about cooking and travel anymore, is it? It's about a fundamentally different way of seeing the world.
Now, we can all feel that difference, right? But what does the data actually say? Well, a team of researchers designed a series of really clever experiments to find out exactly what happens when you mix conspiracy theories with the world of swiping right.
So, how do you even study something like this scientifically? Well, welcome to the dating lab. Turns out the researchers came up with a pretty straightforward way to test all of our reactions.
The setup was actually simple, but really elegant. First, they created a bunch of identical, kind of generic dating profiles. Then, for some of them, they just added a single sentence, a statement endorsing a conspiracy theory. They showed these profiles to participants and asked them to rate the person on all sorts of traits. And in one experiment, they even had them swipe left or right in a little mock dating app. And listen, this wasn't just some small-scale survey. Across 4 different experiments, they had a total of 1,603 people take part. That is a huge sample size, and it gives us a really solid look at the patterns of how people are actually reacting.
Okay, so the data is in. What was the immediate gut-level reaction when someone saw a conspiracy theory on a dating profile? Let's dive into those first impressions. The study's own conclusion puts it pretty bluntly. Disclosing these beliefs right away has a clear negative impact on the key things people look for in a partner: warmth, intelligence, and trustworthiness. Oof, that's a pretty tough start for any potential match. And when you break it down even further, the pattern was just so consistent. Compared to a standard profile, the person who shared a conspiracy theory was seen as less honest, less trustworthy, less intelligent, and even less kind and less friendly. I mean, it was basically a hit across the board on all the good social traits. This chart just perfectly illustrates how those negative impressions translate into action. When people were asked how much they'd want to date the person, the control profile, that's the first bar, scored an average of 4.0. Pretty good. But just look at the drop for the conspiracy profile, all the way down to 2.2. That is a massive difference. It's not just a bad impression. It's a hard no thank you. Okay, so it seems like an open and shut case, right? Sharing conspiracy theories is a dating app death sentence. But the story is actually way more complicated and frankly a lot more interesting than that. The plot twist really comes down to 2 major factors: the politics of the person who's reading the profile and, believe it or not, the nature of the conspiracy theory itself. And this is the absolutely crucial point. That big negative effect we just saw, it's not universal. How you react to one of these profiles depends heavily on your own political worldview. Now, this graph might look a little complicated, but the story it tells is actually really simple. Just follow the red line. That's the pro-conspiracy profile. On the far left, for liberals, you can see that interest just completely plummets. But as you move to the right, towards conservatives, that negative reaction gets smaller and smaller and smaller. In fact, for the most conservative folks, interest actually went up. For them, that political alignment was way more important than any stigma. So that's one big factor. The second one is the theory itself. The researchers wanted to know, are all conspiracy theories created equal in the dating world? Specifically, does how plausible a theory sounds make a difference? So to test this, they used 2 different left-wing theories. On the left, you've got a plausible one: oil companies collude to fix prices. I mean, it sounds like something that could happen, right? Then on the right, you have a much more implausible one: oil companies secretly choose the president of the United States. That's a much bigger claim. And the results here were fascinating. The profile with the really implausible theory, it got judged harshly, just like we'd expect. But the profile with the plausible theory, it wasn't judged negatively at all. In fact, people rated that profile holder as more intelligent than the standard control profile. It suggests that a certain kind of critical, anti-corporate skepticism can actually be seen as a positive thing. So what is it that ties all of this together? The politics, the plausibility, these really strong reactions? Well, the answer lies in this powerful psychological principle that really governs how we form relationships in the first place. It's called shared reality theory. And at its core, it's the idea that we all have this deep, fundamental need to feel that other people see the world the same way we do. We need to feel like we're standing on common ground. That shared understanding, it's basically the glue that holds our relationships together. And that's exactly why conspiracy theories are such a potent force in online dating. Mentioning one is like a supercharged signal. It instantly tells a potential partner whether you inhabit the same reality as them or a completely different one. This table breaks it all down so well. If you're a liberal and you see a right-wing conspiracy, your brain just signals, we do not share a reality. But a conservative might see that same profile and think, yes, this person gets it. And when the theory is just too wild and out there, for pretty much everyone, the verdict is, this is not based in my reality. It's this powerful, instant filter for finding that essential common ground.
So in the end, this isn't just about politics or some far-out conspiracy theories. It's about the fundamental beliefs that build our own personal reality. In the high-stakes game of online dating, we are all sending signals. And this research shows that the most powerful signal of all might just be the answer to one simple question. Do we see the same world? So what are the non-negotiable beliefs that create your reality? That might be the real filter the next time you swipe.